Let's talk about the pseudosavior, who's a very prominent participant in the poor partner epidemic. For background, what's required to resolve a misunderstanding is a curiosity to understand the other person that took the initiative to bring their issue to you. Very loosely, that's all that's required for the first phase of this. The pseudosavior will go down a counterproductive route. There's a specific avenue that some men go down, and yes, it is predominantly men, but I'll use the popular phrase, not all men, and yes, it can be women. But they decide to approach it from the lens of, I know what's really happening here, and they want to cheat the process, so to speak, hijack the entire operation and navigate it from a place of subtle superiority, which obviously thrills their partner. They want to circumvent the actual emotional labor it takes to understand the harm that they've done. So they feel like they understand the root of the issue. Because they understand the core here and you don't, they position themselves in an artificial, objective bird's eye view. They feel is logical, and they'll say a little something like, it's not that I offended you, or that I was inconsiderate. It's actually a secret third thing. Now, whatever they jump to say that third thing is, it's going to vary. But as soon as they say it, that's the truth. That is the one singular truth that exists. Everything that you say after that, that's a conspiracy theory. They know the truth. They obtain the objective truth. No. They don't think it's their truth. They think it's the truth. They take out the listening portion of the conversation and they play both sides. Because they are yet to ask you what you feel, why you feel it, and what specifically led us here. At this point, they are policing the conversation play by play. Because in their mind, they understand how the conversation ought to go. And if you stray from that, you are wrong. You are the bad one. And the nefarious nature of this is that it positions them as, number one, objective, which they aren't. Neither about the way or the why of what you're feeling. Number two, they assume themselves as the arbiter of the truth, where they know all, but you can only hope to see the subsolar point where the sun hits the earth. Because that's all your cute little pea brain can handle. Because they know better. Now, it's neurotic and controlling. That's the core of it. But the ironic thing about it is the only people that would go down the path of posturing authoritative emotional prowess are pseudo-intellectuals. It gives the same vibes as the mansplainer, which, at the risk of telling you something you already know, a mansplainer is a popularly coined term which often refers to a man but doesn't have to be about a man, but once again a predominantly male phenomenon. Basically, when a man explains something that a woman already knows, but he explains it because he assumes the woman doesn't know it or that he knows it better. Once again, doesn't have to be gendered, but predominantly male phenomenon. Anyways, it's that same intersection between overconfidence and cluelessness. Only someone with very dim insights could cosplay being the savior, being the key to the resolution to the problem, while also adding a bigger problem to the situation by making their ego the main character. Because anyone with an IQ over 100 understands that it's juvenile to pretend to be a team player while also condescending their teammate, and operating under the assumption that they're the better part of the team. And it's ridiculous to think that that should go over well with them. Anyways, they'll proceed to police the argument under the assumption that they are perfect and they know what's right. And regardless of what you decide to say, it won't be the right way to have said it. They'll say, you shouldn't have phrased it like this, you should have phrased it like that, and that way I would be able to better receive it. Which is ridiculous, because not only is that neurotic and controlling, it just is not realistic. Because the metric for operating a discussion is not your partner obeying a script they were not given. Once again, truly just the intersection between overconfidence and cluelessness. And they'll say just a myriad of things like, you're a bad fighter, bad at communication, no one can talk to you, you always do this, like you're argumentative, whatever. Once again, giving them the crown and authority to label everything you do as bad and everything they do as good. They want you to believe that that's just merely a coincidence. It's a mere coincidence that they just so happen to always be doing the right thing, and you just so happen to always be doing the what? Now, everyone should know that in conflict with your partner, there are no angels and there are no devils. And if you're trying to make someone out to be either of those things, you're closer to the devil than you'll ever be to the angel. So yeah, the intellectual depth with the pseudo-savior just is not there. The reasoning, definitely not there. The logic loops never seem to loop all the way around, but they'll beg to differ because, once again, the intellectual depth is just not there. And to me, just personally, when I see this play out, I just think half the problem is that they're not in the bracket of intelligence they seem to think they're in. Whatever, that's just conjecture on my part, but for sure the comprehension is not there. And the emotional intelligence it might be there for their friends, because let's not forget they're pseudo-intellectual, so they have to come off as right to their friends and passerbyers, right? But the application of this so-called EQ and its corresponding compassion is not there in the relationship when it matters. So nice, so kind, but not when it counts. Which is the entire point of emotional intelligence, to have it at the ready for the people that you love. So yeah, they're getting zeros across the board on that front. The pseudo-savior, this category of person that has zero awareness of why their interpersonal relationships do not go well. But it's not surprising to anyone that's been involved with them. But don't worry, in their head, you're the problem, and you will always be. Because they just know better, and you are so lucky to know them and have such a wise partner that you never deserved. You could show them this video and they would say, oh my god, I totally relate to that video, because that's you. Because once again, the intersection of cluelessness and overconfidence, that is where they live. That is how far removed they are from their own contribution to things. Not joking when I say they don't have a clue. They do not have that capacity. Not yet, at least. You would have to rewire their entire identity, and I don't even know that they would recover from step one, which is just acknowledging that they're just not as smart as they think they are. That alone might kill them. And you could take them to couples therapy, but all they would do is manipulate the therapist because their main objective is to control the narrative. And once they manipulate the therapist, they would use them as a referee to award them points. So yeah, the pseudosavior. You could tell who they are because they try to overcompensate in every other way too. You will have a better relationship with someone that has actual emotional intelligence as opposed to pseudo intelligence. So just something for you to look forward to, Pookies.